Sony killed Spider-Man! Sony killed Spider-Man! Why would Sony do this? Why would Sony do this? Ah! Guys, I come to you with terrible tidings. Spider-Man is gone. Can we get 10,000 likes for Spider-Man? Yeah, so if you've been paying attention to the recent news cycle within the past 3 days, I guess this is now, Spider-Man is no longer part of the MCU, ostensibly. As we found out, Sony and Disney, their contract expired, apparently, so that means that Sony killed Spider-Man! Sony killed Spider-Man! But, is this really the case? Did Sony actually break ties with Disney? Was it Sony's fault? Is Sony the evil evil corporation that we think it is? No. Disney. It was kind of Disney's fault. Now, a lot of people fell for the sensationalism, including myself, of course. I tweeted some dumb shit like, if Sony doesn't bring Spider-Man back to the MCU, I'm not gonna watch any Sony movie. Retweet if you agree. Some like stupid thing like that. But as we found out the next day, it might not have been Disney. It might not have been Sony's fault. It might have been Disney. So in the contract that Disney and Sony shared, Sony provided Disney with the ability to put Spider-Man into their Marvel Cinematic Universe, which has been great. I've absolutely loved having Spider-Man in the MCU, and I've loved Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man. Not as much as, well, you know. So if you don't know, Sony actually owns the filming rights to Spider-Man because Marvel was struggling back in, I think, the 80s, maybe 70s, so they sold off filming rights to certain companies, like they sold off the X-Men to Fox, I believe it was, Fox Picture. It was the one that they recently acquired, and they now own the X-Men again, the filming rights to the X-Men, and they sold Spider-Man off to Sony. So that's why we had the Sony movies, like the original ones with Tobey Maguire. So a couple of years ago, Sony and Disney entered into an agreement where Disney could produce movies with Spider-Man in it. Correction, it's Sony who produces the movies. Disney just allows it to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they would get 5% of the money from those movies, but they had 100% of the profit from merchandising. And so, as it turns out, Disney and Sony were renegotiating this contract because in the terms of the original contract, it was going to expire like a couple of days ago is what happened. Now, during these negotiations, it looks like Disney tried to strong-arm Sony or do some sort of negotiation tactic where instead of 5% of the profits of the movie, they asked for 50%. 50! From 5% to 50%. That's what happened. So obviously Sony looked at this number and went, are you crazy? We're the one that's making the movie. You're just allowing it to be within your cinematic universe. So Sony and Disney are still negotiating, as it turns out. But the contract expired. The original contract expired. And so this made everybody lose their freaking marbles, dude. They went crazy. They were like, oh my god, Sony killed Spider-Man! Spider-Man dead! They really thought that Spider-Man was gone, but in reality, Disney and Sony are still negotiating a new contract. Spider-Man's not dead yet. He's not out of the MCU yet. When Disney and Sony say that they have cut ties entirely, when they've ceased negotiating, and they're like, screw this, no, screw it, that's when Spider-Man's dead. They're still negotiating! They're trying to negotiate a new contract. Just to recap, Sony and Disney renegotiating a new contract. Previous contract expired. This makes everybody lose their shit and think that Spider-Man is dead and he's out of the MCU. When in reality, the original contract, yes, it expired. And no, they didn't sign a new contract in time. However, they're still negotiating the new contract, so basically, Spidey's not out yet. That's what you have to get from this. At least that's my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong. If you think that I'm wrong, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section telling me that I'm stupid and that my forehead is big. You were probably gonna do that anyway. Let's be real here. So yeah, a different type of video here today, but I'll be coming out with a new Suddenly Sex Offender video that probably sounds really bad if people for people that aren't subscribed to my channel. That probably sounded really bad. Yeah, but that one will be out in a couple of days, hopefully. Probably not, but let's see if it happens. I'm going back to school in a week, so we'll see if it happens or not.